being called China's most important diplomatic event of the year, international forum marking the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road. Yu Yang has more.
Tuesday marks the first day of the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. We've observed many of the highlights here in Beijing. First, Chinese President Xi Jinping met with a number of heads of states and government leaders. For example, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who is attending the forum for the third time. Xi expressed his appreciation, adding that he would like to work together with Hungary and other countries to share the vision of cooperation. Xi also met with the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, James Marape, and he said Papua New Guinea was one of the earliest Pacific Island countries to establish bilateral ties with China. And China is willing to work with PNG to deepen friendship, consolidate political mutual trust, while expanding cooperation areas. The Chinese leader had a very busy schedule on Tuesday. He also met with the Indonesian President Joko Widodo and also President of Uzbekistan Shavkat Mirziyoyev, President of Serbia Alexander Vučić, and other leaders of Belt and Road partner countries. Well, at the same time, on Wednesday, the opening ceremony of the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation will be held right here in Beijing. And Chinese President Xi Jinping will attend the opening ceremony, deliver a keynote speech, and hold a welcome banquet for guests. Meanwhile, 3 high-level forums will be held for in-depth discussions on the topics like connectivity, green development, and the digital economy. Another 6 forums will run parallel to this, with the themes of trade connectivity, people-to-people bonds, think tank exchanges, Clean Silk Road, sub-national cooperation, and maritime cooperation. A chair statement will be issued to capture the consensus reached by participants and lay out the future direction as well as key areas of high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. Yu Yang, CGTN, Beijing.
For more on what's coming at the Belt and Road Forum, Dong Shui joins us live from Beijing. So what can we expect?
Good morning, Philip. In about an hour or so, the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation will be kicking off here at the Great Hall of the People right behind me. And so far, over 140 nations and 30 international organizations have confirmed their attendances. And among them are, the Russian President Vladimir Putin, the Indonesian President Joko Widodo, and the UN Secretary General Anthony Guterres, and of course, the President of Chile, Gabriel Boric. They are already inside. They are expected to get into the hall and get ready for the opening ceremony. And at the opening ceremony, Chinese President Xi Jinping is expected to deliver a keynote speech looking back at the achievements for the BRI, but more importantly, laying out the landscape for what lies ahead. Well, a statement regarding the Belt and Road Forum is also expected to be announced during that opening ceremony. And President Putin, the UN Chief Antonio Guterres, and Argentina President Alberto Fernandez are also expected to deliver their speeches. And after the opening ceremony, of course, President Xi will be hosting bilateral meetings with some of the visiting leaders. We know, all eyes are on a potential Xi-Putin summit, but we don't have any details yet. Of course, the international issues and regional cooperation will top the agenda. And at the same time, 3 high-level forums will be taking place, hosting by high-level officials regarding the interconnectivity, green development, as well as the digital economy. 3 dimensionals to be focused on for the project in the years to come. And yesterday, a chief executive summit took place before the opening with over 450 business deals signed among companies from the participation BRI countries. Well, Beijing has signed BRI deals with more than 150 countries over the past decade, with the projects ranging from railways to ports. As the initiative enters its 10th year, experts say Beijing wants to use the forum to lead the direction of global cooperation, especially as the future of globalization remains uncertain. Well, with this massive investment, Beijing can also tout its economic confidence with the BRI projects like Indonesia's new high-speed rail, the China-Laos rail, and of course the flagship project CPAC. It's a message that will be well received by many developing countries' leaders. Philip?
All right, Dong Shui, thank you very much. For more on this forum, we're joined by Anthony Moretti, Associate Professor of Department of Communications and organizational leadership at the Robert Morris University. Good to see you and welcome to the show. You know, aside from all the bridges and the roads and all the things that you can see, I think there's stuff about the Belt and Road that you can't see, and a lot of it has to do with public relations from China's perspective. What have they achieved? Because this has to be one of the main goals as well.
It definitely is. And I think one of the reasons both the public relations message and the sort of hard development issues, the railways, the ports, the trains, transportation, et cetera, the reason all of those things are working is the consistent negativity and that you see coming from the United States and the West. Let's face it, if the message wasn't working about how successful the BRI is, and if the projects about the BRI were not successful, the West wouldn't care. It's the fact that they have been successful, I think, is one of the clear reasons why you see such a constant worry coming from the West.
Is the Belt and Road a project, or is Belt and Road a concept? And I say that because it seems to me that the Belt and Road Initiative is really just bringing all these countries together. Yes, there is construction projects, but that really isn't the main part of the initiative.
Correct. It really is this idea of ensuring that there is both free trade, ability to conduct trade across countries, across various regions of the world. And let's not forget the very important element that is the global South in all of this. You know, without a doubt, we looked at the global South and we see what is likely to be the true future of the 21st century. A lot of countries with younger populations, eager people in terms of entrepreneurial spirit, wanting to take advantage of these better transportation options, et cetera. And without a doubt, the idea is not only we're going to build this here and that there, but it's this idea of improving everybody at the same time that explains a lot of the success behind this. You're absolutely right.
The roads, the bridges, the infrastructure, who owns all this? Is it the country that it's built in? Is it China? Is it a joint venture?
It really, let's face it, on one hand, there is a brand name or a corporation name that's responsible for everything from building it to maintaining it, et cetera. So yes, there are clearly ownership issues or not issues, but ownership bodies in China, or ownership bodies in the various countries in which they are taking place. But I think if you ask those folks at those highest levels of those corporations, what they would really tell you is that, yes, that building or that port or whatever may have been built by us, but at the end of the day, it is the benefits that are going to accrue not only for country X on this end, country Y on this end, but all of the peoples and all of the nations in between.
When the Belt and Road Initiative first was launched, and I was, of course, here for that, there was a lot of talk of expanding globalization, in large part for China's benefit, but what you said, also for the benefit of the counterparties as well. Fast forward 10 years later, China's economy isn't where it wants to be. You have a global situation that, quite frankly, is probably less global than it was 10 years ago. What's the next 10 years going to look like?
I think if the first 10 years, setting aside the pandemic years, which obviously sort of gummed up everything that would have defined, or at least significantly gummed up what would have defined the first 10 years. But I think if you look at the first 10 years and think of massive projects, I think what you're looking at in the second 10 years are probably going to be things that might not be as visible. Things, for example, such as artificial intelligence, things that might have benefit to a green economy, things that perhaps are less visible, but have an even much more impactful purpose in people's lives. Let's face it, a green economy could benefit 100 million people in a country, where a port might only directly benefit, say, 50 or 60 million people. So this idea of projects that might not be as impressive to the eye, perhaps not even visible to the eye, but I think are going to have a broader reach, really dig deeper into the lives and the importance of people on the ground, people who are just private citizens trying to make the best of their worlds and the best of their lives. Those are the kinds of projects I think we're going to see. And we saw some of that with some of those deals that a couple of your reporters mentioned that took place on Tuesday in China, things relating to, for example, biopharmaceuticals. That's not something that's necessarily going to get a lot of attention in terms of media focus, but it's certainly going to have a lot of positive influence on people's lives.
What are your thoughts? Some say that there needs to be some perhaps more transparency and an improvement going forward, and I'm referring to, again, the next decade, but what would you like to see in terms of improvements?
I think if you're looking for improvements, number one, I think without a doubt on a global scale, you'd like to see even more countries get involved. I think on a second level, and this is more, I think, a Western bias perhaps than anything else, things that we see in Western reporting an awful lot. I think we'd like to see maybe a clearer understanding of the financial components of some of this. But keep in mind as well, the absolute financial complexity at work here. If you and I tried to peel back every piece of that onion, we'd be peeling for the next decade just because of how complex these things are. Does transparency help? Yes. Does a better overall global economy help? Absolutely. Take a pandemic obviously off the table. That's hopefully a once in a century kind of event. But if we also see improvements where the international political scene, where a lot of the tension can be ramped down, the potential for deals that are less governed or less understood through the lens of a political eye and understood more through a true economic eye. If we see more of that in the next 10 years, that will be a tremendous success as well.
Yeah, maybe you can help us out. You can tell them about this project in California. We're building a high-speed rail. We could use a little help there. Anthony Moretti, appreciate your time on this. Thank you.
You have a good evening. Thank you.